Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of MTG Sin Senpai. I have a couple of draft decks to review today. I had two different ones I went to. If I remember correctly, this is the one I went undefeated, went 3-0. This particular one, I think I went 2-1, if I remember correctly. So, it was either 2-1 or 1-2. I don't remember exactly, but I know it didn't go 3-0. And then these are from my F&M. Going 3-0, they give you both of these precs. So that's what I got for this, and that's why I know for a fact this one went 3-0. So let's go ahead and go do the breakdown. I will start off with the cards that I did not run in the deck, but I decided to pick, and then kind of go into the breakdown of why I picked these particular cards. This is a solid 2-mana 1-4. I don't normally run it too often just because it, I don't know, it's just not that strong of a card to me. I know as an uncommon slot, it has that potential of doing extra damage to someone, but especially if they're doing the double spell deck, but there's not too many people that do that. So yeah, it's not the biggest deal, so I didn't run that. Shifting Grift is definitely a fun card. It has not blown me out just yet, but I believe this was a hate pick. I'm not 100%, but I do know I was not going blue in this particular pick. Fell the Mighty, the decent board wipe that I just did not need to run in my particular deck, and if I wanted to, I might have splashed for it, but I didn't really feel the need. 3-mana solid 1-4 that I like this card a lot, especially if you're doing the crime things, because essentially it's a 3-mana 3-4 vigilance, depending if you can consistently pull off the crimes. Example being with the Spring Splasher, these guys attacking together is a lot of fun. Outlaws Fury, it's one of my favorite just board pump spells, and the fact that you have that, if you do happen to have that Outlaw, that you're able to exile a card and then you may play that card. So it's actually pretty solid to me. I like it a lot. Oh, Stoic Phoenix, I believe I hate picked this one as well. Kind of thought about going into the blue route, but I still decided not to in the end. But a 4-mana 5/3 flashing creature is kind of ridiculous, and the fact that as long as you don't cast anything, it's got hexproof, so it's a pretty solid creature. Land, forgot to take that out. Go ahead and put that in my land pile. Tornado, I think I picked this with the intent of sideboarding, just because, you know, dealing with flying creatures or cycling. Got an extra Outlaws Fury. Iron Fist Pulverizer, I'm not a big fan of this card. I know some people do like writing it, but a 5-mana 4/5 with reach is not the greatest stats to me personally. But, and then the secondary effect, I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan. And then Hindering Light is just a solid counter spell that I believe thought about running, but I decided not to, and I totally changed routes in the end. So starting off, going into the deck, we got a few deserts, a handful of deserts, a lot of deserts. So a bunch of deserts, which made the colors very easy to play. So if you could tell, my colors, I believe in this particular deck, was the Jund, and then I took the Botanical Sanctum because I splashed for a single blue card, I believe, and so at least with that, it made going my three colors very easy. So let's go into the deck itself. Unfortunate Accident is a pretty solid just kill spell. I don't think I've ever just used it for the secondary portion, but at 4 mana to kill something at instant speed is not bad, and if you happen to have that additional 1 mana, makes a 1/1 as well. Lava Spur Boots. I know a lot of people do not like these boots themselves, but I personally enjoy something that you can pay 1 to equip something and give it haste at the same turn that you play it. So I like them a lot myself. Not everyone does, but I do. Snakeskin Veil is just a green all-star. Blow out your opponent's combat trick or just a removal spell or anything like that. Snakeskin Veil is always solid. Quick Draw is actually a lot of fun. I like this card personally myself. I've not had an instance where I took away someone else's first strike, but giving my creature +1/+1 on first strike for 1 mana is pretty solid. I like that a lot. Mourner's Surprise is a pretty solid 2-mana recursion spell that I like a lot. The fact that it gives you a 1/1 as well, so that you're not completely wasting the turn just getting a creature back. I like that a lot. Tumbleweed Rising, if you're doing the big green thing or big creature stuff at all, Tumbleweed Rising is just an amazing 2-mana card. Oh, I forgot I had 2 Mourner's Surprise in this particular pile. Was very good. Living Dirge, or Lively Dirge, I'm sorry. I like this card a lot. A friend of mine pointed out to me the fact that you can search your library for any card and put it into your graveyard, so it allows you to kind of thin out your deck, especially if you have enough lands. And then that secondary part of getting up to 2 creatures with total mana value 4 or less, so you can get a 3-drop and a 2 or and a 1-drop. You can get 2 2-drops, 1 4-drop. More often than not, I usually grab 1 4-drop with this, but this card is a lot of fun. I like it a lot myself. Got ourselves another Tumbleweed Rising, just a really solid card. Bristleback Sentry. This one actually is pretty easy to get it to be where it can attack. But for a 2-mana 3/3 defender, it's not the best at it, but you have to kind of build around getting the ability to attack. But in this particular set, it's really easy, so I'm a fan of that. Caustic Bronco. This card is just really, I like it a lot. I love even if I'm not mounting it and then attacking to where my opponents lose their life, I enjoy the extra card draw. And it's just a solid 2-mana 2/2, so it's just a good card to play. Raucous Entertainer. This is my first time actually playing with this particular one, but I did enjoy the card, especially when I was able to just give that extra +1/+1 counter to a handful of my creatures. It's a solid card. Murder kind of goes without getting, like, it's one of the better removals in the set. Only thing I think that's better is Path to Exile, and that's just because it costs cheaper. But Murder is just a solid removal spell. Take for a Ride. I have personally not been able to do it at instant speed too often, but whenever I have, it's actually been kind of fun, especially when you can 2-for-1 your opponent's stuff. Drover Grizzly, just a solid 3-mana 4/2. Rooftop Assassin is a nice way to get rid of just, big threats, especially after combat. And the fact that it has flying and lifelink as well makes it really strong, I think. Consuming Ashes kind of goes without saying, just solid exile. Betrayal at the Vault is it's an interesting one. The fact that it costs 6 mana is a little bit, excessive, but the fact that you can cast this at instant speed does make it absurd. So I actually do like this card quite a bit, especially if you can get up to that mana point. Trick Shot. I try my best not to run Trick Shot. I know it's a 5-mana instant that deals 6 damage to a creature. The thing is, it's a 5-mana spell as well, so I typically don't run it too often, but I was a little removal light, so I had to run this particular one. Rakdos Joins Up is just a solid, fun reanimating spell. Now, if you're able to reanimate something that's ridiculous or legendary that also dies and triggers it, it would be a lot of fun. And this particular deck, unfortunately, did not get to do that. Make Your Own Luck was the reason I ran the blue. I like this spell a lot personally. The fact that you're effectively drawing 2 cards, or you're drawing 3 cards, and one of the 3 cards you get a play for free on a future turn is not the worst. I like it a lot. It did not help me in this particular deck win too much, but it is what it is. Spinewood's Paladin is just an amazing green creature in this particular set. Even if you're just playing it for 5 mana as a 5/4, that gives you 3 life, that has trample when it ETBs, it's absurd. And the fact that you can plot it for 4 just makes it insane, because you're effectively still playing this turn 5. It's just you're able to prepay it turn 4, play it turn 5, and play something else turn 5. So it's kind of nuts. And then, of course, you definitely want to play this turn 5 first. Whaleway Brawler, just dumb green creature that, yeah, this really pushed me into green. Just if you open this or get past this, if you ever get past this, I would question why the person passed it to you. But yeah, you just run this card. It's just that good of a card. So there's that. Unfortunately, that deck did not go all the way, but I feel like it should have done a little bit better than it did. But it is what it is. Let's start off with the cards I did not run in this particular deck. This deck was nuts. Like, this one went 3-0 and did so many absurd things. So I'm going to try and get into the deck as quickly as I can. So first off, the cards I didn't play. Trick Shot, we know what that is. Sterling Keepkeeper, it's a solid 2-mana 2/2 that lets you commit crimes. I believe I have one in the deck, that's why I had to cut the extra one. Quick Draw, we already discussed, is a solid card. Another Trick Shot, not the biggest fan. Quilt Charger is a solid 4-mana 4/3 that does get that menace when you saddle it. I believe it did not go with the Outlaw theme that I'm going with the deck in the end, so I had to make that one cut. Outlaws Fury, I believe I have 2, that's why I cut the second one. Tumbleweeds Rising, unfortunately did not go into the green, but I just picked it up just in case. So I am going the mercenary route, But unfortunately, this particular 1-1 just did not make the cut. I had too many good cards, and this is one of the ones that I did cut in the end. But if I had room to run it, I would still run it just because it's solid 1-mana 1-1 that if it does die, it replaces itself with another 1-1 that's an outlaw as well. So yeah, it's a decent card. Desperate Bloodseeker. Only reason I believe this didn't make the cut is because of the fact it was not an outlaw. Otherwise, I really like this card. I personally enjoy running it a lot. It's a 2-mana 2-2 with lifelink that allows you to commit a crime or fill up your own graveyard. So yeah, it's a pretty solid card. Territory Forge. I just took it because it's a mythic. Personally, I would never run this actually in limited, but I might do something with it in Commander because I could see it doing some goofy things. But other than that, that's that. Pretty Land. Luckily, I believe that this was the last pick. Once again, that stupid lizard, just not a big fan of it. Line Breaker because I had to make the cut. This was one of the last 3 picks, and it just blew my mind because I believe this should not be picked super late in the pack, but of the 3 cards, this was the only one that was even playable, even if it wasn't in the colors that I was playing. That's why I took this particular card. And then let's get into the deck itself. This deck was nuts. So starting off, we have ourselves a couple of deserts, because deserts committing crimes is just always solid. Talking about that #1 removal, Path to Exile. Yes, I do give my opponent a land, but typically if I get rid of their biggest, scariest threat, I don't mind giving them a land. So there's that. Explosive Derailment. I've never had a situation where I've been able to get both sprees off, but usually 3 mana to deal 4 damage to a creature at instant speed is pretty solid to me. So that's another fun instant removal. Getaway Glamour. Getaway Glamour? Glamour. Glamour? I believe that's pronounced Glamour. But anyway, this is a fun, not just removal, because as a removal, like, your opponent has to be the one with the bigger creature, but the fact that you can do a flicker effect, or let's say you swing in with a creature that has trample and you flicker their creature, it just does a lot of goofy things. I do like Getaway Glamour a lot. Quick Draw, we discussed earlier, it's just a solid battle trick, and I only needed one, so I decided to cut the other one. Demonic Ruckus is something that I personally enjoyed a lot. I like turn 1 plotting it, and then turn 2 playing a haste creature, giving it +1 menace and trample. So just swinging in with it is a lot of fun, and the fact that it lets you draw a card if this happens to go away. I liked it a lot as a aura. It's just a pretty solid one. Arietti's Lullaby. It's just Ariettes, not Arietti. Anyway, it's a solid removal spell. Yes, you had to do it to a tap creature, but I believe I had the tapper in the deck, so there was more often than not I had the ability to do that. Thunder Salvo is just a solid, even if you don't do extra spells, just 2 mana 2/2, or 2 mana deal 2 damage at instant speed. It's decent removal. The Resilient Roadrunner, one of those 2 mana 2/2s are with haste, is fun. Yep, I had both of them in this particular one. It is funny that you cannot use the Cunning Coyote to buff the Roadrunner, because the Roadrunner having protection from Coyote is kind of ridiculous, but they're just solid 2 mana 2/2 haste creatures that have some pretty solid effects, and that's why I ran both of them. The Sterling Keykeepers, I had 3 of them. I decided to just cut down to 2 because I didn't need super many, and then these definitely made committing crime super easy, and doing Ariette's removal spell as well as solid. Slickshot Show Off, I mean, this card has done so much in many places. Just an amazing card. I believe this one was my pack 1 pick 1, decided to go with that. Prairie Dog is an absurd 2 mana 2/2 creature with lifelink. The fact that it's already a 2 mana 2/2 with lifelink is already solid, but the fact that, let's say, you're not doing anything, you can have a ridiculously big Prairie Dog. So yeah, I like that card a lot. Rakish Crew. This particular card is nuts, especially if you're in an outlaw deck, and if you notice, majority of my creatures were outlaws so far. And then yeah, the fact that it doesn't check for just token, all it checks is if it was an outlaw that died, so it doesn't matter if it was a token or not. And this triggers as many times as it happens, so there's not just a once per turn thing. Yeah, this card has won me multiple games. At Knife Point, just a solid. Disenchantment, I think, is nuts, especially if you're able to pull off the crime payoffs, be it with either targeting spells or tapping spells, or just doing all kinds of silly things. There was a point that I had both Keykeepers on board, so I tapped during my turn to make a 1/1. During their turn, I tap another creature to make another 1/1. I just constantly had 1/1s. It was just nuts. Outlaws Fury, I only needed one of these because the number of creatures that I generated was absurd, so I never needed to do the two. And if I needed to do a second one, then I typically did something wrong. Laughing Jasper Flint. This card is a nuts card that if your opponent has no answer for it, it can win the game by itself. Which, funny enough, even though I have this card, the entire time I never played it. Excuse me. I went 3-0 without even playing this card a single time. Just every time my deck just performed itself. It did everything properly. It was just nuts. Prickly Pear, 3 mana for 3 power and 3 toughness between 2 bodies is pretty solid. And the fact that both of them are mercenaries, meaning both of them are outlaws, is pretty great. I believe, yep, I had 2 of them in this particular pile, so this just made the outlaw theme go really well. The Holy Cow was just, this one was just a fun card. I like playing the Holy Cow. The fact that it has flash, play it during your end of your opponent's turn, gain some life, and lets you scry one. It's just a solid 3 mana 2/2 creature. This one was a fun one. Outlaw's Merriment is just a pretty crazy card. The fact that of the 3 creatures it generates, only one of them technically is an outlaw, which is, I think, is funny. But there were multiple times I had this out with at knife point out at the same time, and I would get the third effect. So I would effectively, because that targets whenever it deals that 1 damage, I would make 2 creatures for the price of 1, which was, it was just nuts. I got to a point where I had, I believe, 14 creatures on the board, be it a mixture of these 3 with a bunch of mercenaries and other little dudes, swung in with everyone and casted the Outlaw's Fury. It was absurd. Hellspur Posse Boss is just another amazing outlaw, and they gave all the outlaws haste. So yeah, 4 mana 2/4 that just, if you're doing the outlaw thing, this card just makes it go even faster. Shepherd of the Clouds, yes, I'm not doing really the mount thing. I was just mainly using it to, it's a 5 mana 4/3 flying vigilance, which is already absurd by itself, but the fact that you're able to recur any 3-drop permanent, if I remember correctly, yeah, return target permanent. So yeah, all my enchantments that are important are 3 mana, so if, let's say, they got destroyed, I'm just grabbing the enchantment back. This card was like, it's just an all-star. And then Hellspur Brute, if you're playing the outlaw deck, more often than not, I've been able to play this like either turn 3 or turn 4 for 1 mana. It's just nuts. Like, this is such a good 5/4 with trample, especially if you have the at knife point out at the same time. Oh, let's deal with my 5/4 trampling first striker. It's just, yeah, this deck was nuts. I enjoyed it very much. I don't think I'll ever build a deck like that again. This one was just a lot of fun to play. And yeah, those are the 2 decks, kind of the breakdowns, and let's get into these packs. I actually have a couple packs to open for today, so let's see what we got. Starting off, that's the code. Good luck to you if you happen to get that. Hopefully you pull something crazy, something amazing, and if you do, let me know. Let me know what you pull. I'd really like to know. And then let's go. I'm not a big fan of this card. Yeah, it's a 3 mana 4/2 vigilance, but it's a 2 for with vigilance, so it's not that big of a deal. I think it'll more mainly to like saddle creatures, but I'm not a big fan of the card itself. Speaking of mount creatures, Frontier Seeker is actually a solid 2 mana 2/1 that lets you dig in and kind of get more mounts. So if you're doing the mount thing, this is a lot of fun. And ooh, we got a Aurelia, the Law Above. This card was just an all-star during limited NKM. If you pulled this, you're just playing Boros. And Boros aggro was actually pretty solid back then as well. Alright, getting into the foil pack. Let's see if we get something crazy from this one. Fingers crossed, here's hoping. First off, there's that code. Oh, do it that way. Hopefully you get something crazy from this code. If you do, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. And then, oh, Annie joins up. Not the craziest. I'm planning, I have one in my Joda deck. I guess I'll replace it with this one just because it's shiny and pretty. But yeah, in limited, I haven't really seen this do much. But in the Joda deck that I'm running, the one that it's Legendary Cascade, yeah, double cascading is kind of nuts. So yeah, there's that. Alright, our uncommon is Ruthless Lawbringer, which is a pretty solid. And Tithe Taker? I'm not sure whichever pronunciation. And nothing too crazy, which is fine. But anyway, that is the draft decks for this week. Hopefully you guys take the time. If you guys have some interesting input along the decisions that I made with at least the decks that I ran, feel free and let me know. Otherwise, if you made it to this point of the video, Thank you again. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the videos. Do also take the time to like, comment, subscribe, and look forward to the future. Thank you guys again, and y'all never forget, Senpai didn't notice. Good night.